Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Today we will be going over game previews for Week 4. But before we get to that, I would like to make some announcements and remind people of a couple of things. First off, the Tennessee Titans versus the Steelers have been moved to later in the year. That means this is basically going to be their bye week. So if you have any players from the Titans or the Steelers, take them out of your lineup. They won't be playing this week. Also, information just came in that Cam Newton has the coronavirus. They are going to postpone that game from Sunday to either Monday or Tuesday. I don't believe the exact time has been specified, but just know that game has been postponed, and there's a chance that it does get postponed later, just like the Titans and Steelers game did. Today, we are going to be talking about the matchups, but I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently this time. I want to do more of like a rapid round, who to start, who to sit, and picking of games. I'm just testing something out, seeing how it works. And I would like to tell you, I have been picking games against the spread all year now. And after 3 weeks and a game, I checked on ESPN earlier today, not doing too bad. I'm in the 95th percentile of everybody that's been doing it on ESPN, which is a lot of people, as you know. Against the spread, too, isn't the easiest thing in the world. The last 3 weeks, I've had 9, 9, and 11. Pretty solid. I'm hopefully going to get even better moving forward, but 95th percentile, not too bad against the spread. All right. Geoffrey, do you have anything you want to add?
Congratulations, sir. Keep up the good work.
Why, thank you, Geoffrey. I appreciate that. You know, I take pride in my pick'ems. I've been doing this for a while now, and I really like doing pick'ems. Geoffrey, take us away. All right, like I said, this is Rapid Round. Let's do this. All right, starting with the home team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're sitting Tom Brady unless you really need him. There's better options out there, but if you have to play him, it's not the worst thing in the world. Next, we have the running back position. We have Leonard Fournette is going to be out for this game. Fire up your Ronald Jones. Next, we're going to the wide receiver position. Definitely play Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is out, so in a pinch, you can play Scotty Miller at flex. Tight end position. Rob Gronkowski can be played. I don't think that he has crazy upside, but with Chris Godwin out and Leonard Fournette out, I do believe they need people to throw the ball to, so you can throw it to him. Next, we have the defense. You can play the defense against the Chargers. They have a bunch of backups, a lot of injuries. They should be fine. And kicker, you can play him if you want, but you don't really have to. Next, all right, up next, Chargers. You're not starting the quarterback, Justin Herbert isn't showing enough, and I like the Bucs defense. Next, we're moving on to the wide receiver position. The rookie likes to throw it to Keenan Allen, so you can start him. Doesn't do so well with Mike Williams, so move him to the bench. Next, we're moving to the running back position. I expect the Chargers to be down in this game, so this is an Austin Eckler game because they will have to throw it to get back in it. I do not see it as a Joshua Kelly game, so if you can put him on your bench, do it. Next, we're going to the tight end position. You're going to play Hunter Henry. He's a beast. And I'm not playing their defense against the Bucs or their kicker. Woo! All right, now we got to pick this game. 7.5 point spread, and I'm going Bucs. This is actually a really close one. I'm not quite sure. I'm not too confident on it, but I do want to say I think that the Bucs win. They should win handily. They should get it by at least a touchdown. All right, on to the next one. Next up, we have the Colts versus the Bears. We're going to start with the Bears because they're the home team. You're not starting Nick Foles as the new quarterback. For sure. Next, we have the wide receiver position. You're going to fire up Allen Robinson, and you're going to move Anthony Miller to the bench. Next, we have the running back position. Fire up David Montgomery without Tariq Cohen. I think he's going to get the ball a little bit more. He should be a solid running back, too. Next, we have the tight end position. Jimmy Graham apparently has a resurgence. I think you can start Jimmy Graham. He's been on fire recently. Next, we have the defense. Not playing those. Not playing the kicker. You could play the Chicago Bears defense, but they're bottom of my top 12, not necessarily like a must start. Next, we have the Colts. You're not starting Phillip Rivers. Onto the wide receiver position. The very disappointing T.Y. Hilton should be the T.Y. Motel 6. I don't think that this is going to be the matchup where he brings it all together, but I do think there are better games in the future. Next, and he's also the only wide receiver I would start as a flex play, that is. Next, we have the running back position. You're obviously going to start Jonathan Taylor. And I think that you can play Nyheim Hines as a low-end flex play. Next, we have the tight end position. Don't start Jack Doyle, but you can start Mo Alley Cox. He has proven that he is pretty solid. If you don't have one of those top 12 people, don't feel too bad. Mo Alley Cox should do some work for you. Next, we have the defense. You can play the defense. They've been playing very well, but they also haven't had to play anybody good. Next, we have the kicker, and you can also play the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. 2.5-point spread for the Colts, and I'm going with those Colts. All right, sounds good. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Eagles versus the 49ers. We're going to start with those 49ers because they're the home team. We're not starting the quarterback because Nick Mullins is not a start-worthy quarterback. So on to the next. Wide receivers. I'm not starting any of these wide receivers. Yes, I know Deebo Samuel is back. I want to see how he performs. He's also going against a great cornerback in Darius Slay. So I'm not starting him. Next, we have the running back position. Raheem Mostert's going to be out and Tevin Coleman's out. But Jerick McKinnon should play, so I think you can fire him up as a running back too. And you can play Jeff Wilson as a flex play. Moving on to the tight end position. George Kittle is back, everybody. Yes, start him up. I think he should be fine. Next, we have the defense. I think you can play the defense against this Eagles team. Man, how the money have fallen. Kicker, you can play Robbie Gould against the Eagles as well. Next, let's go to those Eagles. You can't start Carson Wentz because he's playing terribly. Wide receivers, they're pretty much all gone. You can play Greg Ward because he's going to get the targets. Next, we have the running back position. Miles Sanders was dinged up, but he should play. I definitely think you could throw him in your lineup if he's healthy. Next, we have the tight end position, and Zach Ertz is the last man standing for the tight end, so he will be in your starting lineup. Next, we have the defense, not playing them. Kicker, meh, probably don't want to play him. So on to the next one. This is a 7.5-point spread. That is a lot of points, and I actually think it could be pretty close, but I think the 49ers defense gets a couple turnovers, and that is the difference maker in that spread. All right, sounds good, and that's it. On to the next one. All right, we're going to go over the Ravens versus the Washington football team, and we're going to start with the Washington football team because they're the home team, and this will be quick. You're not starting the quarterback, Dwayne Haskins. Terry McLaurin, I think that he is going to be a flex with possible upside. This is a great defense, and he's also dinged up, so I'm not expecting a great performance from him. Next, we have the running back position. Antonio Gibson is a flex play at best, mainly because of receiving work. This team is going to be out for vengeance, and I think that the Washington football team is going to have some issues. Next, with the tight end position, we're not starting those. We're not starting defense, and we're not starting the kicker. Next, on to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is going to have something to prove today. Not like he wasn't going to beat them anyways, but that was a terrible showing for him last week. The Ravens are coming out firing. Start up Lamar Jackson, obviously. You start him every week. Wide receivers, you're going to start Marquise Brown. He's hit or miss, but I definitely think you can put him in your lineup as a flex. Next, we have the running back position. This is where it gets tricky. All three of them are probably going to get some run. We don't really know who's going to get a majority of the touches. That being said, I think you can start Mark Ingram as a flex play, and I wouldn't start the other ones. Yes, they could get work, but who's it going to be? J.K. Dobbins had literally 1 carry last week. That's outrageous. Next, we have the tight end position. You're going to start Mark Andrews. You're definitely starting their defense and their kicker. All right, let's pick this game. It's a 13.5-point spread for the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to smash that. This is about to be a blowout. They got embarrassed. It was bad. The Kansas City Chiefs came in their house and made them look terrible. Lamar Jackson's coming out firing. He's definitely covering the spread. All right, that's going to do it. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Rams versus the New York Giants. And we're going to start off with those Rams because they're their home team. Jared Goff's been playing pretty solid. I definitely think you can start him up against the hapless Giants. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think you can play both Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Next, we have the running back position. Darrell Henderson seems like he is taking over this backfield, at least for now, while Cam Akers is out and Malcolm Brown is not getting as many touches or opportunities. Darrell Henderson looks good for now. As of right now, I think that you can definitely start him. Next, we have the tight end position. Of course, you're going to start Higbee, and defense, Rams defense is going to give Daniel Jones some trouble. So Fire them up, and you can definitely start the kicker. Next, we're going over to the Giants. I'm not starting most of these people, but I'll go through it anyway. Daniel Jones, bench him. Wide receivers, Darius Slayton has a chance to have a deep play. I'm probably not trying to do that. I'm going to bench him. I like Golden Tate, but I'm benching him too. Running backs, I want to see what's going to happen. This is a crazy backfield, and this defense is pretty solid, so I'm not trying to go with them if I don't have to. Next, we have the tight end position. Evan Ingram has not been playing very well. He's had one game over 10 fantasy points in PPR scoring. I don't think that this is a great game for him. I think he's right outside the top 12. Next, we have the defense. No. Kicker. No. We're picking this game. ESPN has it as a 12.5 point spread. Give me that. I think they're going to cover. This is going to be a blowout. And that's going to do it. On to the next one. With this one, we have the Jaguars versus the Bengals. We're going to start with the Bengals because they're their home team. I think you can start Joe Burrow. He's been playing very well so far this year, and I think that this is a solid matchup for him, so fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and AJ Green's got to put it together this week. This is the first week where he doesn't have a terrible matchup, and I think that he is going to actually perform. He should be pretty solid. He's seeing the targets, and I think this week he actually shows out. Next, Tyler Boyd. I also think you can start him as a flex play. Next, we have the running back position. Joe Mixon, I know, has not been playing great, but I'm still firing him up as a running back too. Next, we have the tight end position. Not starting any of them. Not starting the defense, and I'm probably not starting the kicker. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew could be a solid play this week. The Bengals don't really scare me. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think that DJ Chark should have a solid outing. He is a little dinged up, so I'm not expecting too much of an upside, but I have a 10-point floor for him. Next, we have the running back position. James Robinson has been playing absolutely fantastic, so you definitely got to fire him up. And defense, I'm not playing them or the kicker. Got to pick this game. Got to pick this game. 3.5 point spread for the Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow gets his first win. And I think he can do it by more than a field goal. This one I'm not super sure about just because the field goal situation. 3.5 points. I think that the Bengals win, but the 3.5 is going to be kind of close. All right, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Next, we have the Cardinals versus the Panthers. Let's start with the Panthers because they're the home team. Teddy Bridgewater. We're not starting him. On to the next. Wide receivers. DJ Moore has not had a fantastic year so far. It's been meh at best, but I do think you can still start him. Next, we have Robbie Anderson, and I think you can start him as well as a flex play. Next, we have the running back position, and Mike Davis looks like he's coming through. He's been playing really well in the absence of Christian McCaffrey, so you can definitely fire him up. Next, we have the tight end position. No thank you. Defense, no thank you. And kicker, no thank you. All right, next we have the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is a beast. You fire him up every single week. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in the league. You fire him up every week. After that, it gets a little meh. I don't think that I'm starting any of the other wide receivers for this team, especially if DeAndre Hopkins plays. DeAndre Hopkins is a little bit dinged up at the moment, so if he doesn't play, Isabella and Larry Fitzgerald become flex plays. If he does play, I'm not trying to start either one of them. Next, we have the running back position, and Kenyon Drake should show out today, or this week. Carolina is not good against the running back position. Kenyon Drake should have a good game this week, and if he doesn't, then it's time to reevaluate how good he is going to be this year. Next, we have the tight end position. No thank you. Defense, I think you could play them against Carolina. They don't scare me. I don't think that it's the best matchup in the world, but I do think that it is a solid top 12 defense this week. Next, we have the kicker, and you can play him. All right. Now it's time to pick this game. This is a 3.5 point spread. DeAndre Hopkins playing, I definitely think that they cover for sure. The Cardinals are pretty solid. They're a good team, and I think that they can pull off this W. All right, I think that's it. On to the next one. All right, next we have the Raiders versus the Bills. And we're going to start with the Raiders because they're playing at home. Nobody's playing Derek Carr, so let's move right past that. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards are both injured, so they'll be out for this game. So that elevates Hunter Renfrow. I actually think that he's a solid flex play this week. I'm actually playing him in a couple of my leagues. I think that he's going to be a good play because they don't really have anyone else to throw to. Next, we have the running back position. Obviously, you're going to be playing Josh Jacobs because he's a fantastic running back. Next, we have the defense, not playing them. Oh, actually, tight end, of course. Darren Waller, you're playing Darren Waller. He's a beast. Yeah, no, he had a terrible game against the Patriots, but they're the Patriots. It's kind of what they do. So you're playing Darren Waller. You're not playing the defense. You're not playing the kicker. On to Buffalo. They have been red hot this year. So you're definitely starting Josh Allen, who's been on fire. He's a beast. Play him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. You're starting Stephon Diggs. If John Brown plays, I think it's a solid flex play. If he does not play, I think you can play Cole Beasley as a flex play. Next, we have the running back position. Devin Singletary is a start for me, and I have Zach Moss as a flex play, assuming he plays. Next, we have the defense. You could definitely play the defense against the Raiders. Don't know why I keep skipping the tight end, but you don't really have to play one of the tight ends. Next, we have the kicker, and I think you can start the kicker because they should be in a positive game script, getting down the field. All right, time to pick this game. Surprisingly, it's only 2.5 points. Give me the Bills. The Bills are fantastic. I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. All right, let's go over the Chiefs versus the Patriots. Now, this game has been postponed because Cam Newton has the coronavirus, like I said at the beginning of the show. So, right now, it's supposed to be played either Monday or Tuesday, and that will be in week 4, so it should count for this week's matchup. That being said, that's kind of what we thought at the beginning when the Titans and the Steelers got postponed. So, be prepared just in case this game doesn't go according to plan. I'm going to start with those Chiefs because they're the home team. Patrick Mahomes, you're obviously starting him. Tyreek Hill, you're starting him. Travis Kelce, you're starting him. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're starting him as well. So, that leaves some of the ancillary pieces. I'm not really trying to start Mecole Hardman or Sammy Watkins if I don't have to, but in a pinch, worst comes to worst, they can always catch a deep ball. So, if you need them, you can throw them in your lineup as a flex play. And you can play their kicker and their defense because Cam Newton's not playing. If Cam Newton was playing, I wouldn't be playing their defense. But they're going against the Patriots, and I'm not super confident in this backup. Patriots, like I said, Cam Newton's not playing. He's out. Wide receivers, the only one you'd start is Julian Edelman. You're starting him as a flex. Next. So, running back position. This is where it gets a little murky. I think that all of these players could be possible flex plays. James White and Sony Michel. Both could be flex plays. I think James White gets a little bit more action because he's the pass-catching back, and I think that they will be down in this game for sure. Rex Burkhead, I feel like will take a back seat most likely, but like I said, this is the Patriots backfield. We can't predict the future on this one. Next, we have the tight end position. No thank you. Defense, no thank you. Kicker, no thank you. All right, I'm going to pick this game. It's a 6.5 point spread. Oh, man, this is easy. Chiefs. Chiefs are dominating the Patriots without Tom Brady. The Chiefs are dominating the Patriots without Cam Newton. I think they're going to win this handily. I mean, they beat down the Baltimore Ravens last week, and they're a much better team than the Patriots without Cam Newton. So, I think that's going to do it for that one. On to the next one. Up next, we have two surprising 0-3 teams. The Minnesota Vikings versus the Houston Texans. But they are in their spot nonetheless. So we're going to start with the Texans because they're playing at home. You can start Deshaun Watson for sure. He's been on and off, but I definitely think between his legs and his deep passing, he'll be fine. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think that you can start up Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, both as flex plays. Randall Cobb actually played pretty solid, so in a desperation play, I think you could play him as well. Next, we have the running back position. You can fire up David Johnson. Last week, he went against the Steelers defense and didn't play fantastic, but he fell into the end zone. That was good enough. Next, we have the tight end position. I'm not starting one of their tight ends. Neither their defense or their kicker. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Starting off with Kirk Cousins. I actually think if you are desperate to get a start, there's a chance he has an okay game this week. I'm not advising that you start him, but I think that he has upside this week. I think this is going to be more of a shootout back and forth. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think you can start Adam Thielen as a wide receiver 2, and you can start Justin Jefferson as a flex play. Showed out last week 170 plus yards and a touchdown. He looked absolutely fantastic. I think they're going to get him more involved. Next, we have the running back position. You're obviously starting Dalvin Cook because he's an absolute beast. Up next, we have the tight end position. No thank you. Defense, meh. And kicker, meh. No thanks. All right, so we're going to go to the pick'em. This is a 3.5 point spread for the Houston Texans. Even if they win this game, I actually think it's going to be closer than people think. So I'm going to have the Vikings getting that 3.5 point or the 3 point advantage. Let's do it. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Lions versus the Saints. And the Lions are at home, so we're going to start with them. Matthew Stafford, I actually think you can start him as a borderline start this week. I don't have him in my top 10, but right around 12. I actually like Matthew Stafford. I think that he should have a fine day. Yes, I like New Orleans' defense. I think they have a very good defense, but Kenny Golladay being back changes their offense. Next, we have the wide receiver position. You're firing up Kenny Golladay for sure. Marvin Jones is more of a flex play. I need to see more out of him before he would become any staple in your lineup or anything. He's not been performing very well. Next, we have the running back position, and they are meh. If you need somebody that is going to get you guaranteed touches, Adrian Peterson is your man. You can start him as a flex play if you really need somebody to get some touches. I'm not recommending you starting any of them, but if you need somebody to fill a spot, Adrian Peterson is the one you want to pick from this backfield. Next, we're going to talk about TJ Hawkinson. I actually think that he's a solid start this week against New Orleans. And I'm not starting the Detroit defense, but like I said, every week, I'll start Matt Prater because Matt Prater's a good kicker. Next, we have the Saints. Drew Brees is a borderline start this week. He's not been great, and when he has been fine, Alvin Kamara's been getting him some very easy points. He's been dumping it off, and Alvin Kamara takes it like 60 yards for a touchdown. That's one way to get a touchdown. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Michael Thomas will be sitting out this week, so it will be up to Emmanuel Sanders, who's not been very involved, and Traquan Smith. Both, I feel like, are borderline flex plays at best, with upside if they actually decide to get them involved and don't just dump it off to Alvin Kamara every 30 seconds. Also, back to the running back position. I actually think that you can start Latavius Murray as a flex if you need him. Like, if you're desperate at flex, I don't think that he's the worst flex play. He might fall into the end zone. Next, we have the tight end position. Jared Cook is out, and I'm not starting any of the backups. We have the defense. I actually think you can start this defense against the Lions. There could be a turnover or two. There's definitely going to be a few sacks. I think that the New Orleans Saints defense should be pretty solid, and you're always starting Will Lutz. The spread for this game is 4.5 points for the Saints. Without Jared Cook and without Michael Thomas, I think that Detroit actually comes through with this one. I'm not sure if they win, but more than a field goal, I think it's going to be closer than that. So, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Dolphins versus the Seahawks. And Miami's at home, so we're going to start with them. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I actually think you can play Fitzmagic. I've got the magic in me. I definitely think that they're going to be in a negative game script, meaning they're going to have to pass it to stay in the game. So, you can definitely play Ryan Fitzpatrick. He might throw a pick or two, and he's going to take some sacks, but he's a gunslinger, and I'm about it. So you can definitely start him this week. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Devontae Parker. If he's healthy and he's in, start him up. I think he has a great game against the Seahawks. Next, I'm not starting Preston Williams. Just an FYI. Unless you really need to, but I'm personally not trying to. Flex play at best. Next, we have the running back position. Myles Gaskin's the only viable running back we have on this team, so fire him up if you had him. Next, we have the tight end position. Mike Gesicki. You could definitely put him in your lineup. He should be fine. He'll be a viable threat against the Seahawks. You're not playing the defense, and you're not playing the kicker. Next, we have the on-fire Seattle Seahawks, and they are letting Russ cook. Russell Wilson, a must start. He is on an MVP-type tear. It's amazing. Wide receivers, you're starting DK Metcalf, and you're starting Tyler Lockett. They're both playing amazing. Next, we have The running back position, this is where it gets a little interesting. Chris Carson got rolled up on last week and he was banged up, but it seems as though he's been practicing throughout the week and should play. If Chris Carson plays, I play him. If he doesn't play, I think you can play Carlos Hyde in his stead. I'm not really trying to play the tight ends on this team, but you can play the defense. I don't think they're going to have an outrageously amazing day, but they should get a pick or two. They've been allowing a lot of points against them, so if you have a different option, you can go with that. I don't think that this is going to be the best play of the week, but if you need a defense and there's none out there, Seattle should be able to get you a pick or two and a couple sacks. And you're definitely playing the kicker. All right, next we're going to go over the spread. 6.5 points for Seattle. Seattle's been on fire. Sorry, Miami. Y'all are good, but you're not keeping up with these Seahawks. All right, and that's going to do it. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Cleveland Browns. We're going to start off with the Cowboys because they're the home team. Dak Prescott's been playing absolutely fantastic. You got to fire him up. Next, we're going to the wide receiver position. And you can start all three of the main wide receivers. Amari Cooper as a wide receiver 1, and the other two, Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, as wide receiver 2 slash flex plays. Next, we have the running back position. You're obviously starting Zeke. He's the man. You can start their tight end, Dalton Schultz, as well. He's a solid play this week. You can start their defense. It just worries me. Cleveland is a talented team. They can never seem to put it together, but they are a talented team. That's why I worry about playing defenses against them, just in case they have one of those games. And they haven't been stopping anybody, so I wouldn't try to play Dallas if I didn't have to. And you can definitely start their kicker, Greg Zuerlein. Greg the Leg, he's the man. Next, we have the Browns. Don't start Baker Mayfield. He's playing terribly. Wide receiver position, Odell Beckham Jr. If there is a game where he could go off or have a solid game, this is it. They've been giving up a lot of points to the wide receiver position. I definitely think that you can start Odell Beckham. Jarvis Landry is more of a flex play at best. Next, we have a running back position. I think you could start both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, assuming that Kareem Hunt is healthy. He has a groin injury at the moment, so I would actually monitor that prior to putting him into your lineup. But assuming that he's a go, you definitely fire him up. I'm not starting either of their tight ends, defense, or kicker. All right, got to pick this game. This is a 4.5 point spread for Dallas. I'm actually going to have to take that because I actually think Dallas is going to score a lot of points in this game, and the Browns could keep up, but they're probably going to have some troubles. So, I got Dallas in it by 4.5. All right, on to the next one. And I saved the best for last. Green Bay Packers versus the Atlanta Falcons. This game's going to be on Monday night. Should be a fantastic game. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's get into it. Starting with the home team, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is an absolute beast. You fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Davante Adams should be playing this week. Now, he said that he won't be playing unless he's 100%, but he has been practicing all week. I'm a little nervous about whether or not he plays only because of the 100%. I want him to be 100% too, but when do we find out if he's 100% or not? So I'm a little nervous about that one, but if you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you have to fire him up. Allen Lazard is out, and Devontae Adams could be sitting out. I think you definitely fire him up. Next, with the running back position, you're playing Aaron Jones because he's an absolute beast. He was a steal for you in drafts, and he's going to play great this game too. Next, we have the tight end position. Worst came to worst. You can start one of these tight ends, but if you don't have to, I wouldn't. Next, we have the defense. Atlanta puts up points. I'm not trying to start them, even though Green Bay's defense has been pretty solid. And kicker, you can definitely start Mason Crosby. Next, the Atlanta Falcons. They're also dealing with some injuries. I'll get to that in a moment. Matt Ryan is the quarterback for this, and I could definitely play him. I think that Matt Ryan is fantastic. Whether or not they choke away wins, doesn't matter for fantasy, baby. He's been great. So I think you can start Matt Ryan. Next, we have the wide receiver positions. You have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Gage. All pretty dinged up. That being said, I think that Russell Gage should be coming back off of his concussion protocol. I think he's going to be cleared to practice and play. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are a little more up in the air. I believe they will be quite question marks until game time. So, have some alternate plans, but I mean, it's kind of Monday night. You may not have any. So, I would take that into account when you're setting your lineup on Sunday. Next, we have the running back position. I do think that Todd Gurley is still a definite start, but other running backs are getting some carries in the backfield, and that is slightly concerning. So, I think you can start Todd Gurley, but he's not the workhorse you thought you were getting. Next, we have the tight end position. You can start Hayden Hurst as well, especially because of the wide receivers being dinged up. He could be utilized more in this game. Next, we have the defense. No, thank you. Kicker. Yeah, you can start the kicker. Cano. All right, it's time to pick this game. Green Bay Packers are 7.5-point favorite. Atlanta has lost some leads, that's for sure. But I don't think they lose by 7.5. That's a lot. They may lose by a touchdown, but I don't think they lose by any more than that. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Let me know what you thought about the rapid round. And Geoffrey, do you have anything for this?
I like the rapid round, sir. I think we should use animations next time, though.
I like the rapid round as well. I think that it's actually pretty interesting, especially to get information out pretty quickly. What about the games? Do you have any comments on the matchups?
COVID-19 is beginning to have a direct effect on the season. 2 games have been postponed already. I have a feeling this is going to continue. Fantasy managers are going to have to be more flexible than normal years.
That is a great point, Geoffrey. We've already seen 2 games be postponed in this NFL season. So, be mindful that this is definitely strange times. We can't control who's going to get COVID-19. We can't control whether or not these games are going to be postponed. What you can control is your roster construction. So, try to make sure that your bench is diversified so that if something does happen and you lose a game, it's not going to eliminate half your roster. So, I think that that's one important thing. And also, be kind to your commissioners, everybody. These are crazy times, and they can't control what they can't control. When games get postponed, they're basically going to be treated like buys. They're not going to be on the COVID list unless you're not on ESPN. The only place I've seen people go down for COVID for a postpone is Sleeper. So anybody that plays on ESPN, they've said they're not going to handle it that way. They're basically going to call it postponed and a bye week. So I know these are crazy times. I'm sorry that this is difficult, but we can get through this together, everybody. All right, I think that's going to do it for week 4. Good luck, Bay Nation. Peace.